All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back from break. And now the question at hand is what's wrong with the United States? My friend Ethan has asked me to list three things that I feel are wrong with the United States and how I would address those three things. So, I don't know. The United States has a lot of problems right now. Uh, One of them is racial unrest, one of them is gun violence. And I think the other one is the two party system. I think the two party system is a blight on the democracy of America. I think that there needs to be more than two parties allowed to debate. There needs to be more choice for the American people. Uh, some friends of mine have said that this election is more about the choice between the lesser of two evils than making the right choice. And that's a statement that I wholeheartedly agree with. I don't believe that either one of these choices is good between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. I believe that people are going to have to figure out between themselves how exactly they want to vote, how exactly they want to slice, the pie, so to speak, in America, how they want to fix things, I guess is a proper term, being that both candidates have weaknesses, severe weaknesses. I just talked about Donald Trump not being reliable as far as his comments, as far as his ability to hold his tongue. And while some people believe that's a strength, anytime you're dealing with foreign diplomacy, that is definitely a weakness. And I understand that he's going to have a lot of help with that, but there are times where you have to be in a room with people from other countries that are leaders. And you've got to be able to discuss with them things without saying the wrong thing. Hillary Clinton's weaknesses are we've trusted her with positions before Benghazi happened. We've trusted her before the email scandal happens. We've trusted her before bad things keep happening. She's a very unlikable candidate, and that one of the major things that I hear from people who don't like her, beyond the fact that they don't believe they can trust her, is exactly why would I vote for her? What are her strengths? Um, I can't really answer any. I believe she's a bright lady, but is she as bright as Obama? No. Is she as bright as her husband? No. Well, okay. Well, is she able to articulate like those two gentlemen? No. I would even venture to say that Trump is easier to understand than Hillary Clinton a lot of the times. Her message isn't resonating. I don't believe that she's a poor candidate. I just don't believe that she's a strong candidate. And I think that goes along with saying that this election is about choosing the lesser of two evils. As far as the gun violence in America, I don't really have an easy fix for that. The one thing that I can say is we do need to get rid of the automatic weapons in America. I don't believe that they have a place in the American society because we just don't need them. No hunter can tell you that they need an automatic weapon. No one outside of a military personnel needs to hold an automatic weapon. It just doesn't make sense. I don't see how that's even debatable. You have a lot of people who follow Donald Trump and who are very big proponents of the Second Amendment, and You know, quite frankly, I'm a proponent of the Second Amendment as well, but I believe that we need to keep these things at handguns and maybe personal protection shotguns, because having an assault rifle with, 30 to 90 bullets, that can do a lot of damage. And it's not the type of thing that you can say is a personal defense weapon. I'm not going to use an automatic weapon to defend my family if I can just take out a shotgun and do the same thing. I'm not going to hunt with an automatic weapon because they're too loud. You just, there's no place for them. I don't understand how in America we can look at the violence that's happened in Orlando, even as far back as Columbine, Sandy Hook. How can we sit there after seeing these things and say that there's no problem in America with guns? I don't know. I look at those things myself and I think there has to be some sort of solution. There has to be a middle ground between taking away the right to bear arms and having these weapons that can cause massive casualties in one altercation. The other thing that I believe is a big problem in America is racial unrest. And I'm an African American, and I'm going to tell you that there's problems on both sides. As a people, African Americans have to be able to not forget what happened in the past, but we cannot allow what happened 250 years ago, 150 years ago it ended, I guess, to shape the way we look at people today. No one's going to pay us, I guess, to sit and remember the horrific things and the horrific time of slavery. The civil rights movement was a very tough time for African Americans as well. Between 1910 and 1965, even later than that, really, was a very tough time. Segregation, we weren't able to vote. They didn't count us as whole people. A lot of things like that happened, and that's a real shame, and it's a travesty in our reality. Shouldn't take place. But even the civil rights movement, if you started back in 1910, when things started to really kick off, 100 years ago. There may be a handful of people that were alive between now and then, but most of them are not. The type of mentality that was alive back then, while not entirely dead, is fading. And one of the things that we have to do is let it fade. As far as, I guess, white America, Caucasian America, however the way to say that would be, I believe that, and I'm not trying to speak for all African Americans because I'm just one voice, but I believe that as a people, it would be in the world's best interest, and I say the world because the United States is the leader of the world, and we can't forget that. But it's in the interest of the world that white America understand that it's not a crime to let other people have power in the United States. I think that that's one of the biggest reasons that there's racial unrest is that African Americans, uh, Spanish Americans don't have any way to change things. There's no real ability to change the way that life exists for your group. We don't have power in the White House. I guess the African Americans do, but that's not backed up by congressional power. We don't have local even power. There's some African American mayors, there's some Spanish American mayors, there's some Mexican American mayors, but by and large, it's still Caucasian Americans that run the government in all ways, shapes, and forms. A lot of people will sit there and tell me that Obama's the president, but unless you're a president that has the backing of Congress, you really cannot affect change. And the presidency is such a powerful, wide office that Obama can't look at the African American community and do things specifically for us. The local level is where things need to change. It needs to be a system in America where we change how things are. I'll be back in a moment. We are now on break.